Last week we saw about a verse where Krishna explicitly advocated for diversity. He said that I was the one who created the four varnams, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam, claimed the ownership that yes, I was the one who created the divisions in the society. And that is not for any reasons that we know of it today, but it is to organize the society based on their profession. All these professions are important to make sure that the society stays intact. There should be some group of people who should be responsible for educating all people in that society. There should be another section of people who care for rest of the people. Protect. So the protectionists are called Kshatriyas. The educators were called Brahmanas. The people who are interested in doing business or who are involved in business were called Vaisyas. And rest all more like store runners or helpers who do not fit in any of the other three were grouped under Shudras. And this is not by birth. The fundamental mistake that many people around the world do is this is based on birth. If someone is this, then that is that. And that is one. And the other mistake is this is good, that is bad. Shudras, for example, are why should Shudras be called as Shudras, and why should that profession be for us, and why should Brahmanas take a higher post? These problems arise because we attach meaning to the words. For example, Brahmanas means we attach a meaning like a higher status. That's the meaning we attach. Shudras, we attach a lower status. So it is the meaning that we attach gives the significance. Otherwise, it is just four divisions, just like this 5 fingers. You cannot have all fingers uniform. Imagine all of them are like index fingers. It's not going to be useful. It has to be diverse. The functionality, so that the functionality of the hand is unique, right? We can more useful. Only when there is diversity, there will be utility, usefulness. If it is all one, then it is not going to be, the creation itself is not like that. If you look around, flowers, for example, there are red colored flowers, yellow flowers, orange flowers. It is not one type. There are variants. There are variants, right, in every aspect of it. Fruit, for example, sweet fruit is sweet, let's say, but it is not the only thing. You have pomegranate, you have oranges. Even in oranges, there are varieties, right? So that is diversity is fundamental principle of creation. Nature has diversity in its roots. No wonder that humans were also not, all of us can't think alike, can't do only one way of thinking or one way of working. That is why we are okay, we look around and then we are okay to accept diversity in all other aspects, but not in terms of uh, few things that we think that it, no, you cannot differentiate. We are mad if we differentiate. The differentiation is okay. Differentiation has to be there. Discrimination is bad. We cannot say that this group of people are not eligible for this, that group of people are eligible for it because these are good, those are bad. That is not correct. Discrimination is not correct, but differentiation has to be there. And we have accepted that in our everyday life. Even when you go to a restaurant, what do? We order an item from the menu and we say that no, 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 last week we had that item. Let's order something different. Variety, variation is fundamental in our nature also. If every day is going to be uniform, do you think we'll like it? We wanted variations. Every minute we wanted variation. Every hour we live. We've been doing it for the last 2 hours. So boring. I want to change my activity. Most of us do that, right? Otherwise we get bored. You cannot be sitting and doing the same thing again and again. That is the nature. And so these four divisions, we cannot say that, okay, you cannot say all, and that divisions are needed, but it is not based on any kind of classification. If some group of people are workers, they will be workers. There will be workers. Those group of workers are called Shudras, but not by birth, not by slapping some label on them saying that you remain to be that all the time. That is not correct. But at any point, these four divisions will exist in any society. We cannot actually deny that. As much as we try to debate about it, saying that there are no caste, there is no differentiation, we can, all those things are good, but still the four divisions will exist in any society. We cannot do away with that. Educators will be there and they are needed so that the rest of the nation get educated information, right? So that is what we, in the last shloka he mentioned, that such a division of society is necessary, but our interpretation, our understanding, many people wanted to use it and interpret it in their own way for their own advantage, and then we misinterpreted it, we butchered the meaning of it, and then took the world to a different level, creating confusion among people and whatnot, right? So that is the one thing that we all wanted to avoid in term when we talking about um, castes, divisions. There are two ways of understanding it. We should appreciate that. One is the lower level of understanding, that it just was created by few group of people for their own advantage. But there is the highest level of meaning that we all should appreciate what Krishna intended to do. Right? We all know it, but still we are not appreciating or accepting that. Now, the actions that he said, why did he all of a sudden bring up the four divisions? Right? In the entire flow of thing, why should he bring about these divisions and he say that I was the one who created the four divisions? Well, the question originally posed by Arjuna was this: I do not want to fight this war. This would mean bloodshed. Many people will lose their lives and I will be responsible for it. My actions will cause harm to others and I will be performing an evil act which I do not want to involve in, because that would mean incur sins. If I incur sin, then again, it's not going to be good for me, my children, all those things he's mentioned that. Now the answer is related to that. The answer has to be related to what Arjuna wants, right? Let's see how we can derive the meaning, derive how it is related. Last week we also saw that there are two types of actions that anyone can perform. One group of actions, divine actions, and the other group of actions, non-divine, you can say non-divine, or actions that should be avoided. We know that in this world what we can avoid, what type of actions we should avoid, and the actions that what we are performing as part of our everyday living, right? For example, eating, sleeping, cooking, helping others, making sure that the family runs and our own life runs. We do many actions, and in these actions, if we put a thought of a pinch of divinity in that, then that becomes divine action. And what do we mean by putting a divinity in our action? A feeling of detachment. A feeling of detachment, again, I'm not able to appreciate it. What do you mean by feeling of detachment? A feeling of detachment is if we are doing it for others versus we are doing it for ourselves. Of course, we need to maintain this body and we need to do many things as part of that, that maintenance, right? We will involve in doing few actions that is essential for us to live. And these actions are perfectly okay. But the thought that one must have when maintaining this body is not in terms of I, me, and I am looking beautiful. I am, that I feeling is the killer. When I go behind that, let me pamper myself, let me give more. It is again not wrong, but the effects will be based on that. That is what he said in the previous thing, that I will, the results will be reciprocation of whatever actions, thoughts that you hold in your mind and perform the actions. There is nothing like good or bad again. There is nothing like, good actions, bad action. It didn't mean that. Divine action, non-divine action is like whatever that helps us evolve as a better human. Version 1.0, now we are. We become next level, improve upon it. If we wanted to go that, then we need to perform our actions in a specific way. We cannot be doing different actions. For example, you and I cannot go and do actions like a goldsmith or a blacksmith does, right? Take a hammer and then hit. Not that kind of actions. We will be doing whatever actions that we are already doing. There is no difference in the type of actions we perform, but in the way we do it, the thought that we hold in our mind to do those actions have to be, uh, what do I say? It has to be, we have to be aware of that. If you are aware of that, oh, this is the thought that I hold, then we know whether it is helping us evolve or it is bringing us down. If it is, so that is why it is not good or bad, but it is helping us or not is the question. Those actions that are performed with a detachment, in the sense, I have to do this, I have to do it. I don't have any bias. I'm not doing this action because my mind is attached to it. I'm so passionate about it. I'm just driven by it. I cannot stop myself. I'm just addicted to this doing it. That is the trap. We cannot be addicted to action and doing that action. Why are you doing it? Any action you see, why are you doing it? I just so love it. That's why I do it. Or I cannot stay away from action because I do not like it or I hate it. Both have their own consequences. Again, there is not, do not go by, if I do these actions, then there will be punishments for me. Such principle is not advocated by Bhagwad Gita as yet. He didn't say any such thing like if you do this kind of actions, then you go to be aware of yourself, because people who have been doing incorrect actions or whatever actions, that they're not going to read Bhagavad Gita. And people who are interested to learn the meanings of Bhagavad Gita, the intention is not to scare people away from Bhagavad Gita, that if you do all these actions A, B, C, D, you will go to hell. Nobody says that. Because the expectation is we all are listening to Krishna's discourse. That itself shows that we wanted to appreciate using our logical brain. So the reasons will also be logical. There may not be anything, something like futuristically there will be a hell and you will go into that and so do not do it. Then that becomes a rule. That's not nothing to do with our knowledge or intelligence. But Krishna has wanted us to reason out, understand yourself, and then do it. So that is why he is saying that be aware of the actions. There are few actions that will bring you down in life. There are few actions that will help you make progress. Progress towards, again, what? Progress towards me. That me is whom? That is the one that is neither bad nor good. That is God. Now define God. God's definition is, most of us will know that God is good, God is great, God is that's what we all will know, right? And there is another definition of God, which is neither good nor bad, neither positive nor negative, neither uh, strong nor weak. Neutrality is God. Moderation is God. There is another definition. That is the path that he wanted us to take. Whenever you do an action, do with a neutrality of mind. That action should not be driven by hate or like. That action should not be driven by passion or anything against it, that action. Right? Do that just for the purpose of doing it. Now, most of us are involved in as a mom or a dad or an employee or an employer or a lot of things, right? We will also do it. We will also perform actions, and we will also do it for others, right? Whenever we are doing action for others, that is number one to hold in mind, which is I'm helping you without any hidden agenda. Many people will help, but there will be some hidden agenda. What do I get in that? That should definitely be avoided, right? We can, even for normal, leave alone spirituality or Bhagavad Gita, you cannot have any hidden agenda when you are helping others. That clearly will show when you are in your talk or in your words, in your actions. It will show up very quickly. Even if it doesn't, that is not the right thing to do, right? So, and people will donate tube lights to the temple, and they will put their name in that, in the tube light, saying that this is donated by. That is like doing an action of good nature, but still owning it up, right? So some kind of hidden agenda. So whenever we are doing action for others, keep a mindset that I'm doing it for the purpose of doing it. That person right now needs this help, not for anything else. And not that no, it is that person. It's so close to me. There are many reasons we will give. When we are helping others, how can I not help him? How can I not help her? Because last time when I asked, she helped me. So now it's like reciprocating that we are doing it. Again, that is not the right reasoning, right? Whether they have helped in the past or not a question. Right now, this person in front of me needs a help. Period. No more discussion. That as a human to human, I go and help. Period. That is the action. That is the right way of doing the action. Now, hundreds of other people will also do, but without that thought. Absence of any thought when doing an help is divine action, right? We can actually define that. Anything with respect to me, if I pamper, if I just just make myself, I spoil myself, right? People call it. Again, it has its own repercussions, its own effect. The more we, think about it, there is nothing wrong. We can take care of it. And now these days, there is a term also for that. Self-care. Self-care is not about getting stuff from Amazon and pampering yourself. Self care is listening to your own inner voice. What is it trying to say? Give itself half an hour, 1 hour. Listen to yourself, inner voices. What does it say? It wanted to speak out, and we are not listening to it. We just say that no, I will take care of myself. Others don't care about me. I will take care of myself by giving myself gifts. That is new trend. I don't know, right? Those are all misinterpreted, misunderstood concept of taking care of oneself. Taking care of oneself should be listening to oneself and responding to oneself accordingly. Deep inner voice. It has a long story to tell ourselves, but we never give our ears to it. But we are interested to listen to all others in this world. We will listen to their story, his story, her story, this story, that story, but not our own true story. So taking a while every day, reflecting ourselves, writing a journal will all help big time in listening to ourselves. When you start writing, we start to think. What do we think? We think about ourselves. And what do we think about ourselves? We think about the thoughts that run in our mind. And so we listen to that. And when we listen, then that inner being becomes satisfied. And that day will be very happy because you paid attention to your own being inside. Half an hour, write whatever that happened yesterday or today, or what you thought about, what we analyzed and what we understand, how emotionally we were. That is like giving ourselves an audience. Right? That is a great habit to start in this year. If you have not, if you are still working on your habits for this new year, that is one thing that we will never go wrong. Writing a journal about ourselves. Right? Every day, sit and write it. So now that thought of neutrality has to be maintained when performing, when helping others, when listening to ourselves, when performing. So when I help myself, I do not pamper, but I do the right thing for me. I don't ignore. Doesn't mean that many people will take it wrong. That means that I should just torture myself, and then I should not buy anything for me. No. In fact, you are giving more importance to yourself in this process. In the spiritual process, one's true self is given more importance than in any other approaches. By materially getting some few things, you will be happy only for half an hour. After that, but by listening to you, you give more importance. So now that's such a neutrality that my Atman is the same as other Atman. So I should listen to my own Atman also, right? Such a attitude will not, we will not beat ourselves down. When something happens, we will always criticize ourselves, saying that if only I did a wrong thing, I took a wrong decision, how bad I am, why am I not thinking every time. It is not correct, because when it is totally not totally unfair to criticize others, it is equally unfair to criticize yourself, because your Atman and other Atman are equally important in this world, and every Atman, that super Paramatman is inside that. So every Atman, that is why we say that every human, treat him or her as God, right? Terrorist, last week also Sailaja asked, but what thoughts we hold in our mind is more important than who they are. Terrorists can be terrorists. This world is made up of not ideal thing. This world is not ideal. We all know that. Right? Good and bad coexist in this world. That is how it is made. That is how it is designed. Positive energy and negative energy both will be there in this world. Electrons are negatively charged. Protons are positively charged. If electrons and protons are not there, the electricity is not there. Magnetism is not there. South and the north, South Pole and the North Pole, right? Magnetism works based on that. North Pole attracts South Pole, and the entire revolution spin happens because of that. Now, if such differentiation or such opposites doesn't exist in this world itself is not there. So opposites will be there. Good people will be there. Equal amount of bad people will exist. They will perform actions. Ultimately, it boils down to that individual, you or me or him or her. Nothing to do with why these kind of things are happening. So God is doing his act. He is doing his duty. No doubt about it. This is how he wanted to happen. Oh no, how it is unfair. When that unfairness has not happened, we are living at this time and we are seeing it as unfair. And it has been going on for years together in the past. Ghazni Muhammad, all Muslim invasion happened in India, right? India was, before that it was at peace, or so we think. There are a lot of inner problems. Again, there also bad elements will always exist. But when Muslims invaded, it was external bad elements, external to India. But on earth, at any point of time, such good and bad always coexisted. But right now, if you see, such kind of external invasion is not happening. In those days, any country will just without any notice will invade, and many civilians will die in that war unnoticed. But right now it's much evolved. The world itself has become a much better place than how it was 100 years ago. But still we used to say that many bad things happen. That is because the news is reaching us. Earlier news never reached, so we didn't know about it. What we should do is we should choose to react and respond to the news in a way that is truthful to ourselves. We should go with Gita as the guide. And what he says is, he's going to say in the later verse, whatever that has happened well. Whatever that is happening well. Whatever will happen well. Why do you worry, Arjuna? Simple question, right? You do not know about, that is what he said, you do not know about your past life or any of the previous lives, but I know about my previous life and I know about every one of your previous life. Terrorist also, that statement applies. You are a terrorist, he is a terrorist, you think, and you think he is bad. You know who you were in the previous birth? You don't know. So you better don't speak, because I know your previous births. So we all were at the same level. Terrorist or a civilian, it is just in this birth we are civilians, and in few births the worst guy we see today will become refined. We never know what he will become or what she will become. We never know. So that is why there is nothing like, in his eyes what they are is what we have to worry about. In his eyes he sees that everything is right. From our eyes, when you look at the things through our own eyes, we see good and bad. As long as we keep seeing good and bad, there is no escape for us. Trouble and traps. Because duality is the problem. The moment we see opposites, so such opposites exist within ourselves. Because to a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old, if you in a 2-year-old mind, there is nothing like a lie. That's why they always speak the truth. To a kid, if you ask, so kids never lie because they know only truth. But as they age, they know the opposite of truth, which is lie. So when we see the opposites, that means that opposites exist within us, and our only goal should be to get rid of such opposites. I like this, I like her, I like him. I hate this, I hate her, I hate him. That is the opposite. And we are ping ponged between these opposites in life. And that is our very cause for problems that we see in life. There are no problems, that we see it as problems. Right? The actions that we perform in life, we attach the meaning that this is a problem, that is a problem, this is a problem. We are slapping labels on it. But they are no, if you look at it calmly, meditate and then sit and observe this world, it is just going on and on. People are doing a lot of actions, I'm not denying that. People do crazy actions, crazy actions. Many of you may not even know, and you are looking at a high level and thinking that people can be this bad. No, there are much worse people, and much worse actions and thoughts can go into people's brain. But what are we doing is the only question. How are we going? We are going to be stuck with that bad and good, and or accepting it. World is filled with that, and I have to cleanse myself. That should be the goal. I have to cleanse myself of good and bad, not just cleanse myself of bad and stay with good. If we want to stay neutral, it has to be both. You don't want to do few things, a good thing just because it is good thing to do, but because it is the right thing to do. If that is the mindset, then we can manifest God within ourselves. That is what in the previous shloka he said. Vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya. Dharma sansthapanam. To establish truth. When truth is established, to establish the truth, I manifest. So when good is gone, good is protected and bad is destroyed within ourselves, then naturally, and we stay with truthfulness, then God manifests there. We're not doing it protected in the sense it's not protected, but we are not doing it for this purpose or this purpose, but with purpose of dharma, purpose of rightfulness. And that any person who does, even if he is a non-believer of God, then God manifests there. That is how we should interpret this. Oh, he didn't believe in God, so where? No. Okay, this shloka didn't say that. Wherever there is a right thing, I'm doing it because it is the right thing to do. That truthfulness is there in the actions, then I manifest there. Whether he believes in God or not doesn't matter. God is manifesting there, is what it means. Godliness is there. We cannot see God with these eyes and with this body, for sure. Others may differ. Many other people who give can explain, can differ. But my opinion is this: you cannot see through these eyes, but we can see godliness everywhere through people's divine actions. The question is, you and I are willing to do such divine action with such a thought in our mind, is the only question that you and I should ask, right? So now, in terms of the previous shloka where the 4 divisions were made, he said that the 4 divisions were made. So no matter, Arjuna, whatever action you are doing, you can be a Kshatriya, you can be a Brahmana, you can be a Shudra, you can be a Vaisya, it doesn't matter. You can be a mother, you can be a father, you can be a sister, you can be any division you belong to. I am the one who created it, but don't get bogged down by that. But actions, if anyone does a divine action, an action that is dispassionate, an action that is detached from both good and from bad, like and dislike, hatred and love, or love and aversion, if it is detached from both and you are doing the actions, no matter who you are, you can be a Shudra, I am still there. I manifest in you. I manifest right there. You can be a Brahmana. But no matter who you are, if you are having the wrong intention, then of course I do not manifest, and you get what you get. That is what reciprocation it is talking about. You get what you get. If you are doing with any other intention, you get what you get. Then I'm not responsible for it. He just washes his hands, saying, because we think that we want to do something, you get what is based on the principle, you will get it. That's all. But have an attitude of um, any person, any human, irrespective of caste, creed, any division, perform that actions with that. This is what he says. And then the next shloka he goes on to say this interesting thing. And this is interesting and also related to what he mentioned in the previous verse. So let's see what that is. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yo bhijanati kar kar कर्मभिर्न सबध्यते कर्मभिर्न सबद न सबध्यते sabadhyate. Badhyate is to bind oneself. That person is not bound. Na sabadhyate is that person is not bound. Bound from what and which person is that is what he is now going to see. That person is free. That person is absolutely liberated. He is just now saying that he's giving long statements that person is absolutely free, Arjuna. That person is absolutely liberated, and that person is need not worry about binding in this samsara, in this getting entangled in this circumstances of life. That person is one who knows about this truth. Iti mam yo bhijanati, yah, one who janati, one who knows this truth. Which truth? Namam karmani limpanti, that I am not bound by any actions. Now Krishna puts his hand here and says, I am not bound by any actions, and I name karma phale spruha, not by any fruits of any actions. Neither by any actions, nor by fruits of actions, nor any actions of desire will ever bind me. That is my truth. And whoever who knows that truth, he gets liberated. Now Arjuna didn't understand. Now we know that you are not bound by anything. Why do you have to reiterate that, right? We know that God is neutral. We don't need him, Krishna, to say that I am not bound by actions, I am not bound by desires. Of course, you should be, because you are giving a lecture to us. So you better be dispassionate about it. Why did he say this here? Now, when we are performing the actions, we are performing with neutrality, right? And not being biased by either sides, either of the opposites. We're doing it because it is the right thing to do. When we perform the actions that way, then he says that I am manifesting there. I manifest there. Godliness manifests there. When godliness manifests there, that action that is performed and that result that happens, there, right there, I manifest, and I cannot be bound. That result, my manifestation, of course, cannot be bound, because I cannot be bound by anything, any of the actions or fruits. And because you are performing your actions with such a divine thought of neutrality, and you made me manifest there in that actions, naturally you are also not bound. It follows that because you are the one who is performing the action through me, and you manifested me in that action, naturally you are also not the real doer, because you did it with total detachment, total neutrality, whatever you did. And so you cannot be held responsible, you will not be bound by any sins or even um, good karmas, because you did with neutrality, right? If people who are donating the tube lights for temples, even though they put their name on it, they might still get good karma, because they are doing at least few good things, right? They are giving the tube lights, which is at least okay than not doing anything. So they will get good karma, but even that good karma is also an enemy, because you'll start going behind one side. It's a lopsided development, right? One side you just keep doing something again to boost your own ego or your own personality, even though you are doing good. So neutrality is the one that is driving here. With neutrality you can manifest me. With goodness, good things you do, maybe you get good karmas, and based on that you will live longer, or you will become wealthy, and all those things will happen. But you cannot manifest me. In order to do that, neutrality is essential, and if you do that, then you are not bound by your actions. Now Arjuna's question earlier was that what will happen if I do engage in this war and then take the lives of so many people who are standing in front of me? I incur sin. Now that is the direct answer here, because you are going to perform as a warrior. You are going to hold your sword and take the lives of people, of your enemies, not people, enemies, with a divine thought in your mind. You are going to go into this war not to earn victory and to enjoy the kingdom. You are not going to go into the war with a mindset of revenge. If you do all those things, then yes, it's not correct. You are going to get back whatever that you had in your mind. But since you are going to hold the neutrality thought of neither this nor that, but it has to be done, then you have already manifested me. And so when you manifest me, I am not bound by any actions or results or fruits or any such thing. So naturally you, who is the performer, will not incur any overheads or baggage of sins, is the meaning of this. And then next he goes on to say that evam jnatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat evam tvam purvaih purvataram kritam. So in the 15th verse he says this, evam jnatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi. He takes some reference. Arjuna, do not think that I am just saying it because you have been just listening to me, right? I don't want to say some statements. I wanted to quote some reference. I want to take some authority based on which I am speaking. Even if it is Krishna, if you observe throughout Bhagavad Gita, he never speaks that I am saying it, I am God and you do it. Never. He never says that. Even though Arjuna himself accepts that you are God, he never says that do this because I am God and you will have to do it. In one or two places he did mention that is towards the end he will say it. But then that is, even if you are not, after listening to everything, you don't understand anything, at least listen to this. I'm God, so do it. That is what he is going to say later on. But right now he says that I'm quoting a reference, Arjuna. By having such a mindset and performing their actions, many ancestors in the past have got liberated, have been liberated. They have attained bliss by that path. Purvairapi mumukshubihi. Purvair is ancestors. Purva means old ancestors. Mumukshubihi, not any ancestor, but mumukshus. Mumukshu means those who are in the path of dharma, those who are in the path of rightfulness, those who are interested to do their actions in the path of right thing to do, not a good thing or a bad thing, but right thing to do. Those are called mumukshus. And we all are also mumukshus. We are also trying to learn and then to align our path towards justice and dharma, right? So that is, they are called mumukshus. So he says that many in the past mumukshus have attained bliss by knowing this truth, that since I am not bound by any actions, by doing such actions you will also not be bound. Knowing that secret, it's literally a secret to do actions. Just like you can think of it as art of actions. Everyone does actions, but this is an art to think that way, in a neutral way, and to perform actions, any action for that matter. That is what he says. Once people in the past have learned or mastered that art of doing actions, and they have got liberated. Kuru karmaiva tasmat. Therefore, now Krishna says, therefore, tasmat means therefore. Kuru, do your actions. Karmaiva. Definitely you must perform actions in the way that those people in the past have done it, with a thought of neutrality and with a thought of dharma in your mind. Fix that dharma in your mind and do the actions. Then you will also be liberated. Right? Is the meaning that he is giving. Next one will be 16th verse. Kim कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्. So this is again another interesting verse related to that. So let me share and then I'll just go through that once more. Kim karma किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्. What is action and what is inaction? He is now actually teaching that divine and non-divine, we said, right? He is now introducing that about the actions and inaction. He didn't say non-divine action or any such thing, because he knows for sure that every action is because of he is running the show. So every action will exist, good and bad. Action and inaction. The shloka also is related to it, but we will understand the meaning of it this first. Even great people, great, when he says great, wise people in terms of spiritual knowledge, not this materialistic world. Knowledge about the materialistic world is one thing. Spiritualistic world, many wise men were bewildered, confused about action and inaction. And so I'm going to now, Krishna now says in the next line, Tatte karma pravakshami. He says, I am going to now explain to you, Arjuna, as to what is action, what is inaction. So that once you know it, once whoever knows it, then that person can perform the actions in the right way, one, and then he will also be liberated and moving towards me, moving towards the path of Brahman. Brahman is that neutrality. Brahman is neutral. God is neutral. I wanted you to, actually think about it today. In Vishnu Sahasranamas, that everything is true. There is nothing like you cannot define God is this. Because if we can define God as this, then I'll tell you what it is. Then we have defined what is infinity. Now we all know that infinity cannot be known by humans. Right? Even mathematicians accept that. Infinity is something that is infinity. You cannot say that infinity minus infinity is equal to zero. Because even in infinity, you remove infinity from it, still it is infinity. That is what is infinity. That is why infinity cannot be understood. God is infinity. Only word we can say is that. Other than that, you cannot define God to be anything. God is this. If you say that, then what about the rest of the things? If you say this, then what about the other things? So that is why God is everything. Whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we feel, whatever we understand, whatever we know, everything is God. That is defined as God. The whole thing is defined as God. The actions that we do, the results that happens, the experience we go through, everything is God. And people who are smart knows that everything that is happening and whatever that goes in my mind, whatever that I see, the people, the actions, the causes, the results, the experience is all that God. It is happening because of that. The people who mature in that thought do not sway from anything that happens in this world. They will not complain. First thing, why world is like this, why it is happening to me, because they know they have got answers for everything. Answers for everything is only one thing. That is the beauty. There are not many answers. Oh, for this, that, that. There are no many answers. That is why at times knowing God is easier because only one thing. If you know about many things in this world, we cannot learn everything. How did a tree grow, for example? How iPad apps are designed, right? How car runs. I cannot be learning everything in this birth, but why everything, how everything works, why, what, how, everything, only one answer. That is God. So if anyone who knows and understands Him and goes in Him, again, it, because some people will be like, why only Him, why not Him? He is neither Him nor her, He is it. That is one more definition. And Vishnu Sahasranama, it is Him. In Lalita Sahasranama, it is her. In Lakshmi Ashtotram, it is her. These are all ways so that humans can relate to it much easily. But end of it all, it is only it that is running the show. And that it cannot be defined. That is like infinity. So that is, if we understand, if we start thinking about that way, that is neutrality of God. Many people will say that Vishnu Sahasranama gives 100 names of greatness, splendor, magnificence. It talks only about that, right? That is also true. That is also true. And neutrality is also in that. And we don't even want to think about it, because we know only goodness, and we think that God is only goodness, and neutrality is something that God's nature also. Let's think about it. Neither any, it's nothing. Nothingness is God. That is another definition, which means zero is God. Infinity is God, zero is also God. So that is the confusion that people get lost in about God, and they say that forget it, I am going away from it. This is also confusing. I am going away from religion, God, everything, because it is not that easy to understand or appreciate. Because it is everything. It is everything is God. You don't have one just definition. And our mind can capture only when it is defined as this. When we Google it, what is this? It has to say one statement. ABC is this. Then we are okay. We are happy. But if something is beyond our capabilities, beyond our perception, that our mind cannot wrap around, then we will say that no, forget it, that is not even real. It, our mind is so limited. Even researchers admit it. We cannot, we know it ourselves. We researchers doesn't have to say that. We ourselves know that we do not remember what happened yesterday. That much is our capability. And we are now trying to understand, wrap our mind around infinity. We can't even solve a simple algebraic problem, a math problem, because we have few of us have grown older. Of course, because of that, we cannot solve. But even for youngsters, there are many problems that mathematicians are still not able to solve. Forget about infinity, and we are trying to understand that. That's why they just put a symbol for infinity and left it at that, because that cannot be, you cannot go behind that. Now, that is why in this shloka he says that what is action and inaction? Actions are many and inactions are also many, and that I will explain to you, because many people, even smartest ones, kavayaha, kavayopi, kavayaha api, that means even the most learned experts, so-called experts in the spiritual field, are not able to wrap their mind around what is action and what is inaction. And I'm going to explain to you. So what he says, and then he goes on to say, karmano hyapi bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmanah, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. Now, in the next verse, he is introducing a twist. First, in the previous set, he said clearly that I will explain to you, Arjuna, there is action and there is inaction. So people are so much confused about it, even experts. So I'll explain to you. And he is slightly confusing us now, saying, Karmano hyapi bodhavyam. You must understand about actions. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanah. It is also important to understand wrong actions. Vikarmanah. Actions that should be avoided. He's introducing one more. Akarmanascha bodhavyam. Bodhavyam means you understand, or we should understand. Akarmani. Akarmana is inaction. So, three actions. Action, inaction, and wrong actions. These three should be understood when we are performing the action, because actions themselves are mysterious. Gahana karmano gatihi. That is the state of affairs in this world. When people engage in actions, three types of actions are there, Arjuna. And how are you going to know about it? Because only when you know about it better, you can manifest me in that, in your actions. And unless you know about those actions that are totally nothing to do with me, there are actions that are nothing to do with me. And if you are going to engage in those actions, then you are going far away from me. Again, he didn't say good or bad. It is like he is going far away or closer to him. Because for mumukshus, like the people who are interested in the path of spirituality, the only goal is how can I align my mind, how can I align my behavior, how can I orient myself by being aware of my actions and thoughts and behaviors, and removing few actions and thoughts that are detrimental to my own existence, and doing those actions that perpetuate my progression towards that neutrality should be our goal. That is when we are all moving towards godliness or God. Just because we are reciting Vishnu Sahasranama or Lalita Sahasranama is not going to take us anywhere. It is just a vocal cord exercise. We are just practicing, reciting the shlokas and all. Other than that, there is nothing like moving towards God. If you are just reciting the shloka and then thinking about something, thoughts, some actions that is incorrect, then it's not going to lead anywhere. That is what is going to talking about: actions, inactions, and incorrect actions. So three things are there. I'm going to explain to you. Once you know it, you should know about it. That's what he says, because actions are mysterious. With that, we come to the end of this session. I will talk to you all in the next week's session about those actions, inaction, and incorrect actions. Okay. Shyah Kantaya Kalyana Nidaye Nidayetinam Sri Venkata Nivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu.